I would like to make it clear that without the Turkish Stream pipeline, Hungary cannot be safely supplied with natural gas, and we reject that Brussels is meddling in Hungarian energy security. We reject that Brussels, on an ideological basis, prohibits the purchase of oil and natural gas from Russia. This, accepted through legal trickery, the decision will be challenged by Hungary at the European Court of Justice in coordination with Slovakia. We will see the lawsuit through, protect the security of Hungary's energy supply, and maintain the purchase of cheap Russian energy carriers. We will maintain the purchase of cheap Russian natural gas through Turkey.
Hungary is drawing a clear energy line, and Brussels is on the other side of it. Speaking in Budapest alongside Turkey's trade minister, Hungary's foreign minister made it unmistakable: without the Turkish Stream pipeline, Hungary cannot guarantee its gas supply. Despite mounting pressure from the European Union, Budapest says it will continue buying Russian natural gas routed through Turkey, calling EU restrictions ideological interference in national energy security. The message from Budapest is blunt: energy security comes before politics.
I would like to make it clear that without the Turkish Stream pipeline, Hungary cannot be safely supplied with natural gas, and we reject that Brussels is meddling in Hungarian energy security. We reject that Brussels, on an ideological basis, prohibits the purchase of oil and natural gas from Russia. This, accepted through legal trickery, the decision will be challenged by Hungary at the European Court of Justice in coordination with Slovakia. We will see the lawsuit through, protect the security of Hungary's energy supply, and maintain the purchase of cheap Russian energy carriers. We will maintain the purchase of cheap Russian natural gas through Turkey.
We held a detailed discussion about these, and based on the picture that emerged before us, I can say that bilateral relations are rapidly developing. We have reached the $5 billion volume and even exceeded it. Our leaders aim for a $10 billion trade turnover in the medium term. The target was set. We, ministers, companies, and business people working in this field will make every effort to achieve the set goal. In the field of investments, collaborations among private sectors and private companies are intensifying. In Hungary, the number of Turkish investments has increased, and in Turkey, the number of Hungarian investments has increased.
Turkey, meanwhile, is deepening its role as both energy corridor and economic partner. Ankara and Budapest say bilateral ties are accelerating, with trade already crossing $5 billion last year, and a new target set to double that to $10 billion. Ministers from both countries say investment is flowing in both directions as Turkish companies expand in Hungary and Hungarian firms increase their footprint in Turkey. The push comes just weeks after the two nations signed 16 cooperation agreements across multiple sectors, underscoring a strategic partnership that is moving fast. For Hungary, the stakes are high. With limited alternative supply routes, the country has consistently opposed sanctions affecting Russian energy. Last year alone, Hungary imported a record 7.8 billion cubic meters of natural gas. This year, daily deliveries are already hitting new highs, with supplies through Turkey averaging around 22 million cubic meters a day. As Brussels tightens pressure and legal battles loom, Hungary is making its position clear. Russian gas will keep flowing, Turkey will remain the route, and Budapest will fight to keep it that way. A fresh legal battle is brewing at the heart of Europe, and it's about energy, sovereignty, and Russia. Hungary and Slovakia are preparing to take the European Union to court, vowing to challenge Brussels over its decision to ban all imports of Russian gas. The announcement came as EU leaders formally approved legislation that will end gas purchases from Russia by the end of 2027, a move designed to sever Europe's remaining energy ties with Moscow. Russia supplied more than 40% of the EU's gas before 2022. That share dropped to around 13% in 2025, according to the latest available EU data.
The European Union has decided to stop our import of Russian energy. This is a historic decision. It means that we will no longer allow for Putin to blackmail us. We will no longer allow for Putin to weaponize energy against us. And of course it also means that we will no longer indirect help to finance Kremlin's war. It's also clear that we do not want to replace one dependency with another, so we need to diversify, but first and foremost we need to produce more of our own energy. One of the reasons why we need to produce much more of our own energy is that it is not good to be reliable on any country in the world fundamentally for our energy supply. So we need to be very careful that now that we are moving out of Russian energy, that we are not replacing that dependency with other dependencies. So we're working very hard on, first and foremost, reducing our consumption of fossils by being more energy efficient, but also by producing more renewable energy, and of course also diversifying who it is that we then buy our energy from. So there's no security without energy security. Obviously our societies depend on having access to energy. So first and foremost, to be able to not depend on Russia, that's a part of our security strategy in Europe, but also the protection of our physical infrastructure is very, very important, and that's why it's very useful to have discussions like this with NATO. We in the European Commission also works very closely with NATO on these issues.
But not everyone is on board. Hungary's Foreign Minister, Péter Szijjártó, says the ban directly threatens his country's national interests. Writing on social media, he warned the measure would drive up energy prices for Hungarian families and promised to use every legal means to overturn it. Budapest says it will launch its lawsuit as soon as the law officially enters into force, expected in early February.
Hungary's position is that this is a national competence, so Hungary will protect its sovereignty. We adopted a law for this, and it is unacceptable that the European Union initiated an infringement procedure regarding this. This is an important issue. External interference in elections, we have seen examples of this in previous elections. This must be prevented. Every nation has the sovereign right to decide for itself who leads the country, and the integrity of elections is a fundamental national interest. What is also important today here at the General Affairs Council, for which I came, by the way, and Sazon, is the adoption of the repower regulation on the agenda. This is the regulation under which Russian gas and oil would be phased out from Europe. Hungary's position has been clear from the very first moment. We fundamentally oppose this as it seriously harms Hungary's energy security. And in such a difficult situation, when the Hungarian government is doing everything it can under extremely ideal circumstances to protect the low utility costs of the Hungarian people, then the European Council is now attacking Hungary by potentially adopting this regulation. This regulation is deeply flawed, as fundamentally the determination of the energy mix should be a national competence. If we were to consider it under EU competence, then this would still be a sanctions regime that would require unanimity. But with a legal trick, they reclassified it as a trade policy issue, thus allowing it to be adopted with unanimity. Thus it can be adopted by a majority decision. This is what's happening now. This violates the principle of solidarity, fundamentally violates Hungary's energy security. This must be prevented. Furthermore, it violates the Union's competitiveness goals as well, since high energy prices caused Europe to fall behind in the competitiveness race. Once again, under Article 190 of the Treaty on the Functioning of the European Union, this would be a national competence. Despite this, the European Union interferes with Hungary's sovereignty and wants to force this decision upon us. From the outset, we stand for the protection of Hungarian people's interests for the utility price cap, and we will sue the European Union Commission and the Council if it adopts this regulation.
Slovakia is following close behind. Foreign Minister Juraj Blanár says Bratislava will also sue the EU, arguing the policy ignores the realities faced by countries still heavily dependent on Russian fossil fuels. At the center of the dispute, how the EU passed the law, Hungary accuses Brussels of using what it calls a legal trick, classifying the ban as a trade measure rather than a sanction. That distinction matters. Sanctions require unanimous approval. Trade rules do not. Hungary and Slovakia both voted against the measure, but were outvoted. EU officials say the ban is essential for long-term security and independence from Russian energy. Critics warn it could send prices soaring and deepen divisions inside the bloc. With crude oil restrictions also expected later this year, the stakes are rising.